Hello, everyone. Welcome to Live Blood Online and Neogenesis Systems monthly video. I imagine most health practitioners or anyone in the world of wellness would like to be able to cure fatigue and improve overall metabolic health. Well, today, Dr. Ocker is speaking with Morley Robbins, the creator of the Root Cause Protocol. This is a system designed to ignite energy in the body by restoring mineral balance. And Morley has spent over a decade researching how copper, iron, and magnesium influence energy production and overall metabolic health. Through his teachings at the Root Cause Protocol Institute, his community, and his book, Cure Your Fatigue, he's educating and inspiring people all over the world to take control of their health by addressing the root causes of fatigue and dysfunction. And in this video, Morley will be asking Dr. Ocker about live blood analysis, its uses, its benefits for health practitioners, and its use in connection with Morley's work and research. So about Dr. Ocker, if you don't know him, he's our course tutor at Live Blood Online and Neogenesis Systems. He's a qualified homeopath and naturopath, using live blood analysis in his own practice for many years. He has first-hand experience on getting great results with live blood analysis. He's also been training practitioners in live blood analysis for 24 years. Dr. Ocker has been working with herbal medicine since 2001. He's also helped to formulate his own range of herbal medicines. So hello and welcome, Dr. Ocker. Are you ready for some questions?
Yes, absolutely.
Marvelous. Hello and welcome, Morley. Fire away.
Delighted to be here and looking forward to our exchange. And Dr. Acker, I have to say, as someone who has an unusual name, I mean, how many Morleys do you know? Uh, you take the prize. You have the most distinctive name I've ever seen. So thank you for that.
Thank you
Uh,
so much.
you can imagine growing up with the name Morley. What do you do with that name? It's not, there's not a lot you can do, but I can only imagine what they did with Acker as you were growing up. Um,
Yeah.
so thrilled to have this exchange. Um, and what I think is going to be exciting is to get your perspective about the process of healing, but how you engage your students and how we can all benefit from that. So I'm looking forward to your responses. And I should also point out to the audience that, my background is a boring book cover, but but Dr. Acker's, I'm fixated by the computer screen that has the picture of the red blood cells. Just I'm fascinated by it. I probably should have been a pathologist, but I didn't quite make that grade. So for those who have not come across this before, I'm curious, can you explain what live blood analysis is? How you would bring clarity to that concept for people who are not familiar with it?
Yes, absolutely. Absolutely. So, just a short kind of description would be that it is a tool used by natural health practitioners, naturopaths, functional medicine, integrative medicine practitioners, basically anyone in the field of natural healing, to view the dynamics of health and disease really at the cellular level. So it involves taking a drop of blood from the finger, a capillary sample, and that's then viewed at high magnification under a fairly specialized dark field microscope. And
Yeah.
what the analyst or the practitioner sees is projected onto a screen similar to what I have behind me. And so the clients can actually see what the practitioner also sees. And that creates quite a different dynamic, a very interactive, engaging type of dynamic in practice, which is one aspect. But of course, the information that we gain from the test itself is also extremely valuable. We're able to track the metrics, the type of parameters that we actually deal with on a daily basis in natural medicine with live blood analysis. And there really isn't anything else that allows us to do that. Conventional blood tests are
Right.
mainly aimed at making a diagnosis, and we know that the normal ranges are very wide and very generous.
right?
There's no distinction between a deficiency and optimal levels, and that's really where live blood analysis comes in. It's really
Mhm.
suited and ideal as a tool for practitioners working in this field. Working with these types of conditions where we're able to physically really see what's going on.
It's interesting when you get into the research, and again, my focus is more on the mineral side, as you know. But when you start looking at studies from the 1920s and 30s, there were no ranges. They had absolutes. They were looking for an ideal level to really identify what a healthy human being would be. Now we've got these ranges that you can drive a Mack truck through sideways, and it's a very it loses all of its significance. And I think that's what part of the value of the live blood analysis is. You have this real time assessment of what's going on. You're not looking at a range; you're looking at in vivo activity, which I think is very, very important. Now, as I've kicked the tires a little bit on the live blood analysis, there seems to be a little bit of a negative buzz to it. It seems like it really stirs up the conventional practitioners, that they don't seem to trust it, or at the base of it, I'm sure they don't understand it. And so if you don't understand something, you're gonna lash out at it. What seems to be the basis of that reaction as you've come to experience it?
Look, I think the basis really comes down to, as you said, a lack of understanding.
Yeah,
Live blood analysis isn't really used as a tool to make a medical diagnosis. It's really a fantastic and very useful tool for anyone working in the field of natural health, but it really has very limited use as a tool for a medical practitioner. There are some red flags that would come up for specific conditions that could be diagnosed. So it would help to direct their further testing, and investigations to help make a diagnosis. So it helps in that sense, but certainly not to the extent that it's used in natural health and in the field of natural healing, where we look at,
right.
at the blood and we actually detect anomalies and conditions or imbalances that conventional medicine has really been in denial about for ages. So,
Yeah,
we're able to see things that are not really recognized as valid conditions in conventional medicine. For example, I've never had a conventional doctor recommend that I go on a detox. They don't believe in the value of a yearly detox. The only
right.
detox really spoken about in conventional medicine is drug detoxification.
That's a good
But
point. You're right.
in natural
Mhm.
medicine, we work with detoxification all the time, and it's sort of seen as almost kind of obvious. We send our cars in
Right.
yearly to have the filters cleaned, and in the same way, a detox just cleans
Right.
your biological filters. The liver, kidneys, and guts, and so on. So why would you not? Want to do that? It's
Yeah.
extremely valuable, and in all my years of practice, I've not encountered one patient that didn't feel better after a detox. And the same goes with other issues that we see in the blood: candida, oxidative stress, various stresses on organ
Right.
systems, things that are not really accepted and defined in conventional medicine. So, the field of conventional medicine would really have a choice here, to either say, well, you're using a piece of laboratory equipment to view blood.
Right.
Everything there sounds valid, and we're seeing that these patterns respond to interventions that are being put into place. So clearly, you're onto something there, and we've missed something for quite a while, and we need to go back and incorporate this into our training. But realistically, that would never happen. So the other
Right.
option is just to rubbish everything, to say it is a gimmick, and we detecting things that are not really relevant clinically, and it's really just there to try and sell people things. And that there may be some truth to that with a small percentage of practitioners, and in that
Sure.
case, it would say more about human nature really than live blood analysis, because people try to make a quick buck all the time, and the thing is that people notice when that is being done, it's people are not dumb. They catch on, when something is off, and they catch on quite quickly that they're simply being sold something without getting any actual real value. But with our growing base of practitioners using the technique and seeing results in practice, that clearly is not what's going on a large scale. We actually focus in our training. We focus on incorporating and motivating people to do long-term lifestyle changes, dietary and lifestyle changes.
Right.
It's not a quick fix. It's not a case of, just taking some supplements and, selling them something and then they are meant to be fine. The patterns that we actually identify in the blood arise from imbalances in the system that are very much related to diet and lifestyle. So those are the areas where adjustments need to be made to actually get long-term results.
Yeah, that makes so much sense. And I think for those who may not be familiar with the root cause protocol, it is a lifestyle program. That's really what it's intended to do. And it's very focused on diet as well, as you know. The one thing that I would add to what you've said is that any detox that I'm familiar with requires energy. And most people are struggling with fatigue. And so I think I love the analogy, take your car in to have the filters cleaned. It's so important to do that. But I think the individual needs to be able to make the energy to support the detox. I think that's been a missing piece of the puzzle for many, many years. And so I think there's real symmetry in terms of the approaches. And as I look at the community there are really two communities within the RCP. We have a broad global community, people who've heard about it, read the book, follow the various stops and starts of the protocol. And then within that broader community, there's a subset, it's just under 1,000 people who've actually taken the training. But I think of that subset, what I'm really curious to know is how would they benefit in terms of their ability to help others by knowing about the live blood analysis or even doing the live blood analysis. As you've come to understand it with your decades of experience, how would you bring perspective to them that they are very comfortable with this program? We do blood testing, we do hair tissue mineral analysis, but I think what this offers is a very unique window into the activity of the body, activity of some symptomatic activity. Be interested to know what your thoughts are about that.
Yeah, absolutely. It is very interesting. It comes down really to that visual impact. Seeing your own blood cells on a screen, and
Right.
compared to what they should look like. So that visual impact really is important, and it helps to. It's not so much about making a diagnosis; it's more about helping to make things tangible. The actual processes in physiology that are going on to help make that more real and more tangible for people. Often the type of concepts that you work with in the root cause protocol, energy production, mineral balance, stress and the effects of cortisol and so on, are quite abstract to people and sometimes difficult to understand and difficult to grasp.
Right.
So, the sort of visual ability to see these things really just makes it a lot more real. Seeing those patterns, the cells being stuck together and moving sluggishly, just helps to get these concepts to kind of click into place and for them to understand it better. So that ability to use it as an educational tool,
Right.
to improve engagement in practice really is extremely valuable. And then, of course, there are many of the anomalies that we see in the blood relate directly to mineral balance. So those can be used to actually track improvement during treatment as well. It's a very interesting area of overlap because the blood, is a very rich source of iron. The red cells really depend on iron. So iron has been a very important issue in live blood analysis for a long time, as well as oxidative stress. So, there's a strong overlap between the two that we can make use of in practice.
Yeah, and as you may recall, one of your graduates is also one of our graduates, and we had a program recently where 3 of our graduates were profiling what the training had done for them. But Michelle got into the side by side, and she had the before and the after. And Dr. Ocker, it was just striking. The people who were there, they were just galvanized by this image of the before the RCP and the after the RCP. And it was very captivating. I think it really caught a lot of people off guard. And one of the more entertaining experiences I've had is I've had interactions with the Amish community here in the States, particularly up in Pennsylvania, where they really established themselves. And they have what are called Amish medical doctors, AMDs. They're not really medical doctors, but they call them Amish medical doctors. And one of their core beliefs is you should not use electricity. So the way they get around it is with solar panels and converting it into batteries, and they've got all these gadgets. But at the core of their tenets is no electricity. And this one Amish medical doctor said, "Well, I'm going to get the live blood analysis training." I said, "Sam, you do know there's electricity involved." "Oh, I know." He said, "But I can't seem to convince people to make the changes unless they see the picture." And it was just like that changed his whole practice. It was when he could actually show them this image of where they were before, where they were after. So my hat's off to you for that, because this is boring to look at, right? But we don't have that luxury. We don't have that luxury. Yeah. And so I think it's what I would guess you also can bring is not just the impact of the visual. You're also bringing, I would assume, a level of accuracy that maybe people have never seen before. How would you speak to that as it relates to your experience with this technology?
Absolutely, yes. Accuracy, the information that you actually gain from the test is extremely valuable, and there really isn't anything out there that provides the same level of sensitivity and accuracy. We're able to see things in the blood happening and indications for specific things many years before conventional tests would show up any type of imbalance. And it also helps in practice where patients come in and they've had conventional labs done and everything seems normal, and yet they feel awful. With live blood analysis, we can very easily see what exactly is going on, and it kind of helps to explain to people why, how we can have years of dysfunction with symptoms, before an actual disease actually manifests. So that level of sensitivity really is unique to live blood analysis, and it allows us, as practitioners, to start working on things at a much earlier stage. We don't have to wait for someone to, go into scurvy from a vitamin C deficiency. We can see that their levels are not optimal much earlier on, and address that before anything serious comes, sets in. And the same goes for the other indicators that we see in the blood as well. So as a tool, not used to make a diagnosis, but to actually track patterns that relate to physiological processes in the body, there really isn't anything like it out there.
Yeah, very interesting. I was talking with a colleague the other day. She was in her 70s. She's writing an article about the RCP for a publication in the UK that has a readership of like 900,000 people. It'll be interesting to see what comes of that article. But as is so often the case, when people hear about the root cause protocol, they don't dip their toe into it. They like to jump into the deep end of the pool, especially when you're in your 70s. I'm 73. I understand they're like, oh my gosh, I missed this completely. And so she started taking copious amounts of copper. Well, what people need to understand is you're talking about the iron in the red blood cell. The part that people were never told is that copper is the general and iron is the foot soldier. And there's a whole network of copper enzymes that decide how the blood's going to be made, how it's going to be recycled, how it's going to move through the body. And so if you don't know that, you don't know what's going to happen when you take a whole bunch of copper. And so what causes our aging, I don't have a clue how old you are. I'm going to say maybe late 30s, early 40s, whatever. But I know you don't look the same today as you did when you were 20 years old. You look older, you look more mature. Well, all of that maturity, all that change in I used to have red curly hair. That's changed. Um, but all of that comes by way of iron accumulation. And, and as we go through our daily diet, we're accumulating iron. And we do that every day for years and years and decades, and the iron starts to build up. Well, she started to with the copper, she started to unleash the iron, and she got arrhythmia. And so she was very unsettled by that. And she knew about herbal medicine. And so she ran to hawthornberry. And it calmed down the arrhythmia. I said, "Do you want to know why?" And she said, "Well, I mean, sure, but she said, I just know it works." I said, "But don't you want to know why it works?" And she said, "Well, okay." And I was able to explain to her how the hawthorn berry has a unique property to chelate iron from the heart that's causing the dysregulation of a specific enzyme called MKK4, which is magnesium dependent. And if you have iron accumulating in your heart, it's going to cause magnesium loss. And suddenly she had this completely different perspective of what was going on. And so I guess the related question for you is, I'm a huge fan of herbs, but they're a blessing and a curse because they're a big black box. We don't know what they're really doing. We know they work. We know that there's amazing properties to these herbal tinctures or powders or whatever form it might come in. But I'm curious as it relates to your approaches that you use within the live blood analysis training. Are you incorporating the root cause protocol, or how are you going to begin to bring this mineral perspective into the resolution of the problems that you're going to diagnose? At the end of the day, people are coming not just to be entertained; they want to get healed. And what are you going to do to begin to incorporate those root cause principles into what you've got in your core program?
Yeah, absolutely. That is actually quite a bit of exciting work because it is a bit like a missing piece of the puzzle, that we're incorporating with the technology with live blood analysis, because of the real time sort of feedback that we get when looking at the blood after specific interventions. We can really work out what actually works and what doesn't work in practice. So, we have very good protocols, sort of time tested protocols for the specific anomalies that we see in the blood. But there have been problems with some of the patterns. For example, some of the patterns that we see in the red blood cells that are meant to relate to iron, and despite various types of supplements, we don't really see things shifting there. There's definitely some missing information there. So we are definitely going to incorporate, with your assistance, of course, the principles of the root cause protocol into the training so that practitioners can get that type of perspective as well. And the reason we're doing that is because of results. The results speak for themselves. So we can see it with our attendee, the one practitioner who has been going through your training as well, with the results just that she's seen, that Michelle's had in practice. It is amazing, and we're able to see these things taking place in the blood fairly quickly. There's often a very sort of large kind of time horizon with dealing with clients, where things change very slowly in the background, and people often sort of focus on a specific symptom, and the symptom might not be improving, and often you would lose the client during that phase where things are actually improving in the background, but they're not really feeling the improvement yet. With live blood analysis, because we get that sort of window into what's going on at a cellular level, we can actually show positive changes taking place there, which really helps to motivate people and keep them engaged and keep them going. And we can see those, or they can then start seeing and feeling those improvements as well as things continue to shift. So it's a kind of a shift away from focusing on symptoms, but rather looking at tracking changes and tracking patterns over time,
Yeah, no, that's very, very exciting. I think I shared this with you in an earlier conversation, just for the benefit of the viewers of this conversation. I had an opportunity to do a live blood analysis. Oh, it's probably been 7 or 8 years now. And it was a colleague of mine who was developing a particular form of copper, supplemental form of copper. And he put the copper solution, and it was live blood because as soon as the copper came in, he was able to identify the parasites that were there, and they just scurried. It was, and what people may or may not know is that copper is antimicrobial. All the pathogens cave in the presence of copper, but the parasites in particular, just like phew, they shot off the screen. It was fascinating to watch that. So I can only imagine what additional insights we're going to be able to get as we get deeper and deeper into this. And of course, the backbone of this whole process is that very sophisticated lens that you play with, the microscope. Tell us a little bit more about that. What makes that so unique? Why is that so critical for this whole process to really understand it?
It is really, really critical. It needs to be the correct type of setup. There are a few very specific features that are needed for a microscope to work for dark field microscopy. And a lot of it really relates to the fact that we're doing dark field microscopy. Dark field is far less forgiving than bright field. It really needs to have all the boxes checked for it to work properly. So, it's the strength of the light source, which is far higher than what you would get in a standard conventional laboratory microscope. And then the type of objective, actually the lens being used to produce the dark field view, is a very specific type of lens as well, that uses oil immersion. And then also the magnification range that we're getting is also far higher than what you would get with a standard type of microscope. We are using, with the image behind me, using a 100 times objective, and the magnification that we get then on the screen is about 4,000 times. And that's almost the edge of what we're able to do with optical microscopy because of the limitations with the wavelength of light. So there's additional magnification built into the microscope that allows us to just to see things far closer than what you would with a conventional type of setup. So those are the two main important points, but really dark field is where a lot of the sort of magic happens, where we see most of the important anomalies that we then end up working with in practice. So it really is important to have something that produces a clear enough image with high enough level of contrast, where we have a proper sort of black background, where we're actually able to see all the small tiny elements between the cells that you're completely unaware of when looking at the blood in bright field.
Yeah. And so in the dark field picture that I'm looking at, the dark field, is that the plasma?
Yes.
We're actually witnessing the plasma in that situation?
Absolutely.
That's the sea that the red blood cells are swimming in. Am I getting that right?
Correct. Yeah. So that's the fluid that they're all floating around in, and those are the gaps or the open areas between the cells, the black kind of background, and then all the circles, the white little circles. Those are the actual red blood cells. We're of course able to see platelets and all the different white blood cells in the blood as well. And it's quite exciting to see the white blood cells because it is a live sample. We haven't killed the cells by staining it. We're able to see the cells behave like they do in the body. So the white blood cells actually move around on their own. We can often see them chasing bacteria, chasing things in the blood, cleaning up the plasma and mopping things up. It's fascinating to see that, and people really get quite engaged with it. It's a bit of an intimate kind of process to see your own blood cells on the screen, and that type of connection really strengthens compliance and motivation for people as well.
Well, I have to entertain people with my brilliance. Now I'm going to find out what happens if I start to use a microscope. That would be a blast. So for folks who are tracking with this conversation and they're captivated as I am by the concept of the live blood analysis, where do people go to learn more about it? Where do they go to get an educational activity courses? Where can they enroll? How would you answer their questions relative to that process?
I think the easiest resource would just be to go onto the livebloodonline.com website. All the information about our course and our microscopes are on there. So practitioners can go on there, and if they wish to get more information on the course, there's a contact form and a request to get an info pack emailed to them as well.
Okay, awesome. Well, I really applaud what you're doing to bring a new perspective into not just the diagnosis, but into the healing process. Very grateful for for you reaching out, for you and Elizabeth taking the time to connect. Very grateful that Michelle happened to be at the intersection of both training. I think there's a lot of good that's going to come from this. So really appreciate this exchange and look forward to our next conversation where I'll be on the hot seat and you get to ask me questions. So that'll be a lot of fun. And I just want to applaud your efforts. It's very, very inspiring.
Brilliant. Thanks so much, and thank you for your time. I'm really looking forward to chatting with you and going through some more details on the root cause protocol. It's really been eye-opening for me to sort of see what you've described and what you've discovered as well, and I'm excited to learn more.
Well, looking forward to that. So thank you very much for your time.
Great, thank you.
So yeah, thank you to both of you. It's very interesting, and I'm really looking forward to learning more as well. And I hope that was of interest to you all as well. You can find more information about Morley and his work at www.therootcauseprotocol.com. There will be a link below this video where you can click on the link and go to the website. And also join Morley and his colleagues at the Root Cause Protocol Conference, which is in Denver, Colorado on February the 27th to the 28th, 2026. Again, you will find actually, if you go to the website, therootcauseprotocol.com, the link below, and click on Join Us at the RCP conference, and you'll be able to find out more about the conference and join there. And to find out more about...
we will have live blood analysis at the conference.
Oh, of course. Thank you for that.
Right. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
Looking forward to that.
Yeah. And to find out more about Dr. Ocker at www.neogenesissystems.com. Again, the link will be below. And if you want to find out more about training and equipment for adding live blood analysis to your practice, go to www.livebloodonline.com. And again, the link will be below. So thank you very much, both Morley and Dr. Ocker, for this very interesting Zoom meeting. We'll be having another one next week, so we look forward to speaking with you again next week, and we'll send you more information and more links, and hope that you'll join us as well. So thank you, Morley, and thank you, Dr. Ocker, and we'll speak to you next week.
You bet. Thanks so much.
Thanks very much.
Thank you.